established back in 2000, and they were they purchased Bankers Trust Company. And you know, Bankers Trust companies are regulated by the FDIC, Federal Depository Insurance Corporation. But then they went from Deutsche Bank to UBS, United Bank of Switzerland. And so Obama has signed a tax treaty in 2009. So if you Google United States of America entered into a tax treaty with UBS in 2009, Obama and Tim Geithner signed off on it. And basically what they have been doing, they have been actually changing our registration statements and from your DBA, like your name, they would create a DBA and change your registration statements to those trust accounts. So they're running a trust system. You've seen a lot of people have been having problems with foreclosures. And I don't know if anybody's familiar with this here, 43 trillion stolen from the American homeowners. And you look at this here, they have signed a receivership showing that they're supposed to return that money back to the U.S. Treasury. But who's the victims? The American people. They was the victim. And this is the case, they actually sued them in 2012, all the bankers. But you look what it says, major banks, government officials, and their Conrads, all of them are doing what you call racketeering, money laundering. And you'll see that when you read it, you're like, wait a minute, all your major banks, all of those guys. It's some things that I'm going to show you here that it's called a Form 56. It's an IRS form. That's a notice of fiduciary relationship. And you see up here, all this, your all caps. Your all caps are foreign. So our ID at all caps is foreign. And it's ran by our members. Okay? And basically what happens, and so here with the fiduciary, it's your last name up in lowercase, and you become the fiduciary of the all caps. Then they have what you call a form, it's called an 8822B, where you need to change address or become the responsible party. And think about what we've been doing. Again, they have a deal. These two IRS forms. This is notice regarding substitution of party upon death of claimant. So in actuality, they have us as deceased. Okay? So but what happens is, unless you become the responsible party and hold in due course, you don't have a chance. Because every time we sign our name, as we was trained how to write, we actually saying that we are an entity. It has nothing to do with our rights. Not only as an American, but as a God-given right. We have a God-given right, which goes back to Scripture, which goes back to, you know, the people I get. So then every state has their own constitution. Yeah. Okay, so the history of that is, how did we become debtors in their eyes? George Washington whooped him twice. The problem is he ran out of money. So who did he borrow money from?
King
the
George.
Neverlands, the Banksters, the J.P. Morgan, the Rockefellers, those guys.
Yeah.
And what did he put up for collateral? Our Social Security numbers. So we became debtors to the bankers. Bankers, and CPAs, and lawyers. They operate as under foreign authority agents. 2 months ago, I had a guy here to go before the judge and told him what to say. I said, don't talk about jurisdiction. Ask the judge. Judge wanted to, he said, what authority are you telling me to do anything? The judge just paused like a cobra. Didn't say nothing else. The judge gets up and goes to the chambers. You know why? The judge knew they were operating under foreign authority. The devil has authority. So if you submit to the adversary, then he got jurisdictions, right? Simple. So when I go back and see here that these guys, let's show you here, And this is years ago. That's why I knew about Deutsche Bank and Deutsche Bank and stuff. And you'll see here, IRS wrote this in 92 telling me taxpayer's name. That was my mom. She died when I was 9. But the taxpayer identification number is a 75 number. And I said, let me see the copy of the SS4, where they notified Social Security classified, and it was signed by Afra G. Green. Now, how did she, it gave the appearance she married this guy 13 years after her death. How did she do that?
That's a good question.
Very good question. But the IRS, the only reason why the IRS notified me is because I nailed them. They had cashed SEC. They filed a registration statement with the SEC, Security Exchange Commission. And they filed the registration statements, and who filed the registration statement was a profit-sharing trust. It's called an 017. All of our accounts are tied to trusts. So when they cashed the stock, it created a taxable event. They get to use that money tax-free and create money. So all of us has what you call, we are stockholders in the United States of America. And all the companies are major. 6 months you can work for a company, they can fire you, you quit. They have opened up a profit sharing trust on you. Profit sharing sits above salary and wages. There's no other substitute for any other benefit. And it allows them to use the money, not have to pay taxes, and grow the company. So you could be gone from that company 20 years. Guess what? Your money is still vested in the company. After 5 years, it became 100% vested. And so the SEC called me. Bankers Trust got fined $63.5 million. $3.5 million Bank of New York regulators, and the SEC fined them $60 million, but nobody went to jail.
Here's how to
Bank of New York regulators, and the SEC fined them $60 million, but nobody went to jail. 1 count of conspiracy, 12 counts of falsifying book surrenders, 12 counts of misapplication of bank funds. Then I had a CPA who I got. When I filed identity theft under her social, he created a 2848 power of attorney. But was it on me? No. It was on the 2 companies that she was supposed to be married to, but he used put his cell phone as a CPA, and then had me as administrator somewhere, the guy I didn't know, and the company that my mom didn't create 13 years after her death. You see what I'm saying? So what happened was, so once he did that, the state came back and revised my heirship and made me 100% owner of a guy I didn't know. But they didn't know where to go. They didn't know how to fix it. So they said, just make him the owner of the companies and all the identity theft and everything else, okay? Because they didn't know how to fix it. Then they came back, and the DA, the district attorney, ex-probate judge, attorney he used at the time, and a statutory retired probate judge came in and did a tribunal. And the only way you can do a tribunal, I don't know if you know what a tribunal is. It's where you got 3 witnesses. Now, you can have 2 witnesses by word of God. Who's that mention? Right, okay. And mention it. But they use the same thing. They have 3 witnesses. It don't even matter what the court say. We can do the same thing. You have 2 witnesses at the bottom, they sign off on it in front of a notary. Period. So what has happened then, I even hunted down the guy, Alpha G. Green, and he did an affidavit. I had a notary follow me all the way to East Texas, and he said, I didn't know, he told his wife, bless his wife, because she's just sweet on him. He was 84 at the time. And he said, honey, I didn't know I had a black son. I said, I didn't know how to white that. He's a character. He was sweet this. But they used his DBA and attached 2 DBAs together, and he was using his employee ID number for reporting reasons. Ain't that something? And then nobody was filing any 1040s for her or anything of that nature. We don't understand. You have to close the accounting out. That's why you experiencing what you experiencing. Who teaches us how to close out a Social Security number? Have you ever heard of that?
No.
No. The Social Security, if somebody's sending you Social Security checks, that means somebody's administering that account. Okay. You never know how to close that Social Security number.
See, now, I did an investigation because I found my dad died in 1995, so I went in there on that same thing, and I had like 390 last summer. He had like 1,450 accounts under him. I never closed an account.
Never closed it out.
So I go into my jewelry box and I found this little tin plate. This is from my grandfather that died in 1943.
You found what now?
His Social Security. Social Security. 1943 he died. Paid 10 years into it. He had 2,800 companies trading under his account. And the thing that bothers me about this is they've stolen the family wealth from us by doing this.
Yes,
because we should have been able to have this handed down to us in a proper form.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
They've literally stolen our wealth. And I think that's what's happening right now with.
Well, they getting ready to do a lot of transitions. I don't know if y'all know about the deniers, all that there. They're getting ready to, because they don't have the credit. They don't have, all that has to be credited back to the U.S. Treasury. The question is, how are these guys allowed, just in this example, how are they allowed to extort a money launderer, a racketeer, $43 trillion from the American homeowners? How could that happen? That means this is something they've been doing continuously for a long time, okay? A lot of times, once I go back and tell them how to shut it down, then I go back and I hit the judge in his chambers that you're operating as a foreign agent, and how we're going to sell this private and confidential. Because the biggest fear is what? Exposure.
Yeah.
So you hit them what they fear the most.
Now, do you have to sign an NDA when you do get a settlement on it?
No. Here's the key is, if the settlement is an agreement, it's implied, tacit law, etc., etc. The bottom line is you never ask for money. You ask for credit. Remember, there's no real constitutional money. If you look at your Federal Reserve note, this is a note that's used for legal tender, both public and what? Private. The question is, people really don't know what's private. Most of the people don't understand the private side. The private side falls under the Privacy Act of 1974, Disclosure Rules of 1974, ERISA of 1974, Employee Benefits Security Administration, and the Bank Secrecy Act. And those went in place. They passed a law in 74. The Department of Labor became the fiduciaries. The PBG, Pension Benefits Guaranty Corporations, became the guarantee. Always an insurance company, because you're dealing with commerce, debts and credits. And then the IRS became the reporting agency. And they created what you call the 5,500 family. Then they created the VIVA. Now, they didn't actually execute the ERISA trusts until January of 1980. Then they had to create a third-party administrator, which is VIVAs. VIVAs are called Voluntary Employee Beneficiary Associations. They became the third-party administrators. And once they created the VIVAs started creating subsidiaries. What I mean by subsidiary? DBAs. Where did the DBAs come from? Your social is, everything has to be tied to a social. A foreign agent cannot make a claim through a DBA. It has to be tied to a social. So that's the reason why they have to leave it open.
And that's why under that account I have Japan, Netherlands, Switzerland.
It's all operating
Sweden,
Germany. Right now,
Ukraine.
if you Google, there's 73 bankers have come up dead with UBS, United Bank of Switzerland. It says its owner is Rothschild, which is worth $300 trillion. The IRS works for the banksters. They hired them in 1919. They're a bookkeeping and accounting firm. That's where they're from. Huh?
Are they based in Puerto Rico?
Yeah, well, Puerto Rican, yeah. Puerto Rican going, but most people don't understand when you Google what's the difference in the United States of America and the United States. It's a difference. Okay? And well, we don't understand, as a United States entity, you're trained to write your name up in lowercase when you sign, right? You're signing as a United States of the District of Columbia entity that's owned, copyrighted, and trademarked under the Constitution of the District of Columbia, 1786, enacted in 1787. Now, the Declaration of Independence, 1776, was passed in Philadelphia. 1776, along with the original Constitution, 1776, enacted in 1777, they gave rights to men, not to persons. It says that. And then those men got together in 76 and created the District of Columbia. Yeah. Then you got the all caps.
Yeah.
That's 1886, 100 years later, enacted in 1887, which is copyrighted, owned, and trademarked by the British government. That's why we have the royal family. Wait, you listen. Okay? And we accept that. Okay? So, why? Because they run our country. Attorneys are board members. British Accreditation Registry. They're registered agents of the British government. Their allegiance is to the British.
Foreign agents.
Foreign agents. That's it. So scripture do say, be wise as a serpent, but meek and harmless as a what? Dove. Okay? So I always ask the question, you know, what keeps us so separated? You know, truth brings unity, a lie brings what? Division all day long. Okay? And who divides and conquers? The adversary. Who's the author of confusion? The adversary. Okay, so he loves to put a camouflage in front of you so you don't understand that it's a spiritual fight. You know, we wrestle not against flesh and blood, but against spiritual principalities and high what? Wickedness. See what I'm saying? Lean not to the own understanding, but trust in the more than knowledge in all our ways so he can direct your path. He wants to always have, you got eyes but you can't see. I got ears but I can't hear. But I know I'm affected by what you're doing. You know what I'm saying? It's cause like so I hear people, just like I heard a while ago, and said, well, they know the private side of that. I said, let me ask you one question. I said, lady at this hip, I said, how many have she done? How many private accounts has she gotten to? She said, none. I said, okay. My point is this here. What is the bottom line? Have you hit the bottom line? Are you getting the results that you're looking for? That's a yes or no. And the question is, I hear a lot, I see a lot, but I don't understand when you don't have the results that you're looking for. You know, I know 1 + 1 equals what? 2. I know 1 + 1 does not equal 3, 4, 5. It's just not going to be there. Okay, so I asked the question. Then she came back and told me that the lady who wants to get to a private account, she's losing her house too. And I said, okay, you don't have the time to waste. We don't have the time to waste. Right now, there's some things that are coming to the head. I've got friends of mine who have been discharged in debt for 10 years, but it's certain things that they didn't know how to do, and I told them, notify this person, that person, and they discharged it. I've got letters from the PBG, Pension Benefits here in Georgia. I've got letters from Scott Apple with Employee Benefits Security Administrator with the Department of Labor, and he made a good point. He said, Mr. Groves, he said the agency, watch this here, the agencies don't even talk to each other. He said, if you hadn't connected the dots and showed, well, we wouldn't know what they were doing. And that's by design. They don't want them to see the big picture. But I hit all the agencies, and you want to know what I found out? They was complicit. And I was told by vice statistics in Austin and their inspector general and their attorney, he said, Mr. Rose, we've been having internal fraud. I said, okay, what they got to do with me? Mr. Rose, they've been buying these birth certificates at $8,000 to $30,000 a pop. What? I said, well, I'm going to ask you again, what they got to do with me? Well, Mr. Rose, we got to take the birth certificate, the death certificate. And see, they got to collapse the two instruments together. Now, why would you buy the birth certificate? So you can run those DBAs from that account. If you clap it with the death certificate, everything stops. It closes it out. And seeing you have
So where does all that money go?
No, they operate through trusts. Trusts, I don't know if you ever heard of Great Pool. They do the hedge funds of a trust. Those trusts have trillions and trillions and trillions that the American people don't have a clue. A trust is actually, it's like a person. Well, where's the money? It's being held in a trust account.
Is it possible to get that?
Well, no, because it goes back to database, your registration statement. The only reason why you're now seeing all these accounts, but you can't touch it because they've changed the registration. I'll give you an example. If somebody changed the registration to your car, and your car, driver license, go through a tollway, where they gonna send the ticket in? Whatever is registered on that, the license plate, it won't come to you. It's gonna go to its registration that's on that license plate. Same thing. The reason why you're not getting any accountings or anything, because the registration's been changed and the address has been changed. And that's where it says change of address and responsible party.
How do you find the registration?
Well, again, you fill out your forms. And you become a fiduciary. Now,
What was the name of that form again?
this is called an 8822B.
And what was the other form?
The other is Form 56. And then this one is a Social Security form. It's called a HA 539. They created this form in 2015. And this is notice regarding substitution of party upon death of claimant. Now, anytime you see all caps, that means it's owned, copyrighted, trademarked by the British government. You know, all time. Anytime you address with your name, you always say you're the responsible party holding due course. Even with the police, I am the responsible party holding due course. You're not saying you are that fiction that has no rights. The minute you acknowledge that name is the minute that you are given it. I can give you an idea of what I carry, but I'm not that entity. See what I'm saying? I'm the responsible party and holder in due course. See the difference? I'm the fiduciary.
What a copy know that thing?
Huh?
Does a copy even know what that means?
He works for a private corporation. That's why I say I understand you work for a private corporation. That's why they don't like to show you their ID. No, I work for the police. No, man, I want to know who am I talking to.
Can you ask?
Oh yeah, still with all due respect. I want to know who I'm talking to. I need to see your ID. I work for them. No, I didn't ask you that. With all due respect. You want to call your supervisor? Call your supervisor. I know you work for a corporation. Period. I'm not here to disrespect you. Just because I got truth doesn't give me the right to disrespect another human being. See the difference? So I'm going to come to you with an understanding to the fact that I'm the holder, responsible party, and holding due course. The last lawsuits I filed, I don't sign as pro se for somebody. It says responsible party, holding due course, comma, and they sign it. They don't say pro se. They don't say I got an attorney. You know, you say that, you just won the fight. They just changed your status. Either you got an attorney and you turn all of your rights over, you waived all your rights by giving it to a foreign agent. He can do what he wanted to. Give you an example. I had an auntie, uncle died, and they didn't want to pay her insurance money. She called an attorney. The attorney said, bring me $1,000 and I want 33 and 40%. So she called me. I said, I'll be over there in a minute. And I called the insurance company. I said, I need a claim form. He sent a claim form. Fill it out, attach a copy of the policy, send it in. I said, you ought to have a check in 30 days. 31 days. She called me, honey, I ain't got a check yet. I said, well, hold up. So I called the insurance company. I said, listen, y'all got a check in our hand in 72 hours. I'm going to file a claim against your license with the State Board of Insurance. They had a check in her hand in 2 days, plus interest from the time she filed the claim. Now look what the attorney would have did. He'd have took her $1,000, 33 and 30 or 40%. He'd have lied to her for 2 to 3 years. And every time she checked on her case, he'd have charged her. At the end of 2 or 3 years, and he already filed a claim. It's an escrow. In 2 or 3 years, he's going to keep all the interest on the money, take his 33 or 40%, take out all the money he charged her for checking her own account, and give her the difference. That's how they operate. So my question is here. If I have a problem with someone, I want to know who your bonding company. The attorneys. You use your license under the bar association is the bonding company, but it's the bar that regulates them. So the Texas bar is not the association, just like the police. You got the police, Department of Police, but you got their association. The association and the Department of Police are separate. But yet, the only way to be a part of the association, you have to be a police officer. See that? They're different. So, the Texas bar, what I'm saying, Texas British Accreditation Registry. They have associations and they are attorneys or private members. See there? They're not the bar. They just private. They hold a membership with the bar. That's it. So when I file a claim against an attorney, I don't submit to the bar to make a complaint. I file a claim against the bar because that's your board. He don't represent me. His allegiance is to you, not to me. And he don't use the law to benefit me. He used the law to benefit them. See the difference? He'll lie to me. He'll do. I said, well, here's the procedures. Let's say this here. I'll be with you. This is this here. This is what you should have did, and this is what you did. It don't line up. So when I file a claim that they're out of compliance. See the difference? The question is, why are you not following compliance when it comes to the law for me to get my release? See the difference? That's it. I'm sorry.
That's okay.